Hey YouTube. I am coming on here to talk about the Trayvon Martin case. And I wasn't going to make a video. I didn't want to say anything. I've been talking about this for weeks now because I watched the trial. I watched it online. I didn't see it from the very beginning, but partway through when the prosecution was still having witnesses come up, I started watching the trial every day. And on my Facebook page, I was giving updates. And really, when the jury went to deliberate, I thought that the verdict was going to be not guilty. Not because I believe George Zimmerman isn't guilty. I don't think the prosecution did a very good job. I think they should have went with manslaughter. I think there's more evidence for manslaughter. I think that the second degree murder, just the evidence isn't there for it. So that's how I felt. Just watching the case, from watching it with my own eyes, and just that's what I thought that the jury was gonna say. But then when the jury was deliberating for a long time and they were asking questions about it, about like how to determine some of the wording, I thought, okay, maybe they're gonna go with manslaughter. But then everybody knows what the verdict is. I think it's obviously really sad that some people just don't get it. Some people just think that this was just justified, and even if somehow in your brain you feel like what George did was justified, I just don't understand it. And nobody has been able to say it in a way to me that makes me go, okay, that makes sense. I just don't, and maybe it's my feelings about gun control, because I think that this is about gun control as much as it is about racial profiling. And there are some people who are saying, no, race wasn't involved. And I think that, obviously that's not true. What I want people to understand is that just some people are saying it's just a hoodie. It was just a hoodie. But if your reasoning for the hoodie is that people who are criminals wear hoodies, therefore, when someone is approaching you wearing a hoodie, that gives you reason to be suspicious. Well, one, are you watching people with hoodies commit crimes? No, it's people that are depicted in the movies and TV and in the media wearing hoodies are depicted as criminals, or seen as criminals. So therefore, you associate hoodies with criminal activity. The same thing is true about brown people, and they even mention in the defense's closing statements that all of these crimes were committed by black teens, so that the jury could see that George had a reason to profile Trayvon. Now, that doesn't make it right, but that's George Zimmerman's own defense team brought that up. So I just think that just saying that no way race was not an issue is just not true. So I don't know. It's just really sad, and I didn't want to make a really long video, but just looking at the evidence, I do believe George is guilty. I believe he's guilty of manslaughter. I don't think it was murder, which is ill will, malice. I think he profiled Trayvon, and just listening to the call, the 911 call, I was like, man, this kid is a suspect, and he even on the phone, the operator's like, hey, keep an eye on this guy or whatever. I was like, he's not doing anything. He's just walking, but if you say you think somebody has done something, then automatically you're a suspect, whether or not you've done anything. And I think that's a problem. And I just wanted to say, even though I feel like as a black person, we as a community, need to come together, and I'm happy that there aren't any riots. Some people are calling protest riots. They're not riots. People are protesting. People are speaking out about this. People are trying to do what they can, and I'm happy about that. I'm proud about that. I think that some black people are taking it to another level, like killing George, threatening people like that. What is the point? And a lot of people, like I've seen people say things like, well, George killed Trayvon because he was black. That's not what the evidence shows. And if you're assuming something about George without having any evidence whatsoever, except for something you heard on the news, that's just as bad as George assuming that Trayvon was doing something when in fact he wasn't. He didn't have the proof that Trayvon was doing anything. And if you don't have the proof to say something like that, then don't. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You know, assumptions are assumptions. They're dangerous. That's what this case is about. So I will say that even though I'm glad to see people trying to find a way to get heard, you know, and not riot or whatever. And I'm like, what? Why is it that we always gotta be rioting? Like, what? Like we can protest peacefully. You know, we can get our people should be angry. And I think they have a right to be angry, but we can get our voice heard without rioting in the streets. You know, like that's just another stereotype. But anyway, you know, and I think it is important for us as people to know that some of our power is with our money. Some of our power is with our words, but with our money, you know, we can't, like with the whole Paula Deen thing, and I'm not even going to get into that, but I talked to so many people who were like, well, I don't care what Paula said, and she was not fired because she said the N-word in 1962. That's not the reason why. That had nothing to do with it. But there are so many people who are like, well, I don't care what she said. I don't care what she called me. I'm still buying her stuff. And I'm like, and then they're mad about this case. Like, okay, if you don't like that people are calling you out your name or doing whatever, why would you support them with your money? Like, that is how we can change things. You know, the bus boycott worked not just because there was a bunch of black people walking to work and they were late all the time. No, it was because the bus system wasn't making money. Like, white people didn't all of a sudden change their minds and feel like it was okay for black people to sit on the front of the bus now that they're not riding it anymore. No, it was money. The bus system wasn't making any money because we wrote it. And it's the same thing now. Black people have spending power. If you are not using your money in a way that backs up what you believe, then that's not really what you believe. You can't say that. Like, say it with your actions, not just with your words. And I think that's so important for us to know. And another thing, because I'm a Christian, I also feel like, you know, if we would all, and there are some people who don't believe in Christ or whatever, but look at Christ's teaching. What is Christ teaching us? Love one another as you would love yourself. What is so wrong about that? If everybody embraced that, do you know how everybody's needs would be met? Because I make sure my needs are met all the time. And I make sure I don't discriminate against myself. And I make sure I have what I want. And I make sure I give myself a second chance and I forgive myself. So if I'm doing that and you're doing that to me and I'm doing that to you, then we're not going to have all these problems. So that's how I'm ending this. Hope everybody's having a good day. I feel better now. I got I got it off my chest. So and the video isn't too long. So hope everybody's having a good day, and until my next video.